On today's episode, Halloween comes a little early as we are looking at Neca's sidestepping back into the Godzilla license with their Ben Cooper Godzilla costume figure. Now, for those of you under 30, you might be asking, what the hell is Ben Cooper? Well, Ben Cooper, for the longest time, was the purveyor of Halloween costumes. They spanned from the 1930s all the way up to the late 80s, and went out of business around like 91, 92. But me being a child of the 80s, I had a few of these things. So back in the day, before cosplay was all the rage on Halloween, especially if your parents weren't exactly swimming in money, you went to the Pick and Save, you went to the Woolworths, you went to Sears, wherever you got cheap clothes, and you picked out a Ben Cooper costume for Halloween. So what is a Ben Cooper costume? Well, it usually makes up a plastic mask and a plastic smock with the character that the mask is. So Ben Cooper had the license for everything under the sun. They did Star Wars, they did Planet of the Apes, they did Marvel, they did DC, and for a while they had the Godzilla license, and they did this very Godzilla costume that you see here. I've actually seen a few that held up. Now here's the thing, these were not meant to last long. I actually had one or two of these as a small child, and let me tell you, man, they rip like rice paper. It's kind of like those martial arts movies where you see them like walk over it very gently without tearing it, that you know that's how you become a master. Same thing with these smocks. Quietly, it was also kind of a lame costume, especially in hindsight, because you're going as the character. Why is the character wearing the picture themselves on their actual costume? That's one of those things. Look, as a little kid, even I was like, that's not what I was going for. But you know what? My mom was just like, here, you're going to be Batman. My brother was Spider-Man. And there you go. The masks were cool, though. The masks actually held up for a while. But you put them under a 60-watt bulb and they just dried out and broke apart. Like, it was like they were just pieces of butterscotch just falling in the sea. Anyway, I'm rambling. So, the good people at Neca have gotten the license to do these Ben Cooper costumes, and they're doing them as these little figures with the costume on it. It's Neca's bread and butter. They, horror, sci-fi, they essentially are McFarlane's Movie Maniacs line, just as a whole company for the most part. So, if you know your Neca, you know that they had the Godzilla license for a few years. They lost it. It went to Playmates. But there's a little circumnavigating with this guy, and we're getting Godzilla back under the Neca banner, even if it's just kind of a tangential way. So what we have here is this little guy. So it features the actual artwork from, I believe this is from the Marvel Comics issue, I think it's issue 7, with Godzilla fighting Ren Rodan. And it's actually pretty nice. Look at that. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff. I love Godzilla Americana, so I was kind of eager to get a hold of this thing. I found it at my local Target, and I was like, yes, all yes to this. So let's crack this open, because I've actually been very curious to how these figures look outside the box, because they're kind of generic armatures from what I have seen on display. Alright. This is lassoed in. Yep. Much like the actual costume. Let me get this. Alright. Let's put that away. So, here we are. Anonymous trick-or-treater in his Godzilla Ben Cooper costume. And this thing's actually pretty cool. It right off the bat, it actually feels like the costume. Well, the version of the costumes I had as a kid. It is all vinyl. I mean, let's see if we can get a closer look at that. This is all vinyl. So it looks like that comes off. It's just a bare figure underneath, much like the actual costume itself. And again, for those who are too young to understand, like, these things were meant to be worn once and then tossed away. They were like $10 for the costume. So if you see them on eBay and they're in good condition, they fetch quite a price, because much like comic books of the golden age, people didn't think of collecting these things or keeping them. And these were not meant to hang around. I mean, they're built for, 7 to 10 year olds. But that said, this figure is pretty cool. It is an armature. It's got full armature posability. Look at that. And it doesn't have a lot of the faults that I have found with Neca in the past. There's none of the stiffness that I'm noticing. That might be because it's a basic human figure, but if you've ever opened a Neca figure, you know that they have some issues. I'm not seeing any of that here. So look at that full posability. Yep, and movement at the waist, full articulation at the head. Does the mask? No, the mask is on there. It does not come off. So it's probably for the best too. You don't want to be, you bought it for the costume itself. So he comes with a little trick-or-treat bag, which is pretty cool. That actually, look at that, it opens. That you can put right here and go door to door. Ask for candy, and sometimes you get the house with the full-size Snicker bars, and sometimes you get the house that gives you raisins. And well, back in the day, you made those people pay. Overall, though, this is a fun little figure. I know for older folk, this is much more nostalgic. I mean, I was at the tail end of these things as a child. I'm 41. So the late 80s, these were starting to become less and less prevalent as other costumes kind of took over. I mean, I was there at the beginning of what you would call the Party City costumes, the very generic, non-licensed costumes. But this is a full licensed costume. Actually, let's get a look at that artwork on there. That is stunning. Again, I absolutely adore 70s era Godzilla Americana stuff. So this is right up my alley. I dig this. I dig this quite a bit. Let me get a little better look at that mask. So let me get this right here. So right next to it is a picture of the original costume, so I can get you a compare and contrast. I think they did a pretty good job. You got to remember, in the 1970s, they were not worrying about movie realistic quality. These were meant for neighborhood kids of lower income levels, just for everyone to go out on Halloween and have a fun time, get some free candy, because that's what Halloween's about: spookiness and free candy. It's how could you not love it? And I think I would say Neca did a bang up job. And would I collect this line? No, this is a very particular line. I see a lot of these figures sitting on the collector's item shelves at Target and Walmart. So there is a market for them. I think this is like series 6 or 7. So they are pretty deep into this line. I believe part of this line there was a Planet of the Apes and maybe an Alien one as well. They've done all the Universal monsters. There's a Chucky one out there. So they are moving into like stuff that didn't exactly get licensed. So they're kind of combining the two aspects together. So for those who are older, this is nostalgia big time. For younger folks that kind of love that old-timey stuff, this is up your alley. If you just like Halloween in general and you're a Godzilla fan, this is actually perfect. This is a solid action figure. And again, I can't reiterate enough that it does not seem to suffer from the Neca issues that I've run into in the past. Like, this thing the joints don't feel like they're gonna pop off the second you pull this out of the box, which is exquisite. So kudos to Neca. Now this thing is $22 roughly. I believe you can find it cheaper online. For a $20 figure, let's just ballpark it depending where you buy from. This isn't bad. This isn't bad at all. It does stand out in that collection if you got to have a little bit of something. If you love the American Godzilla stuff from the 70s, oh, this is a must have. I highly recommend it. Well, there you guys go. That is my review of Neca's Ben Cooper Godzilla Halloween costume action figure. Remember, if you like what you see, we do have a show. It's called The Kaiju Kingdom Podcast. You can find us at thekaijukingdompodcast.com. And if you don't like to download, well, you can find us on all of your favorite podcast streamers, including Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you find better podcasts. We're also on social media. We're on X. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook.com. If you want to keep up to date in the world of kaiju, that is the place to go. Or if you just want to say hi, head on over. Just give us a wave. And on that note, that will wrap up this edition of the Koffers. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.